Have you ever sung happy birthday to yourself just to feel like someone did? One candle, one cake, one woman pretending it doesn't hurt. Because that's where I was, 32 years old, managing multi-million-dollar campaigns, and still wondering if I mattered to the people who were supposed to love me first. I just come from the biggest win of my career. My pitch had closed a national brand, the kind of campaign that makes headlines. The client hugged me, but my phone, still empty. No missed calls, no texts, no happy birthday Lexi from my family. Not even a typo-filled group chat message. That silence was louder than any applause I'd gotten in the boardroom. The elevator doors slid open in my apartment lobby, polished marble floors clicking under my heels like applause that wasn't for me. In the mirrored walls, I caught my reflection. Lexi Hartwell, senior PR executive, 32 today, wearing exhaustion like a designer label. I checked my phone again, still nothing. I told myself I didn't care, that birthdays were for children, that grown women with titles and deadlines didn't need candles or cake. But when I walked through my front door, that little cake I'd picked up from the bakery sat on the coffee table like an accusation. A single candle stood in the center, unlit, waiting. Why does being forgotten still feel like failure, even when you've built a life no one helped you build? I dropped my leather bag, kicked off my heels, collapsed into the sofa cushions like I was trying to disappear into them. I'd spent months making this apartment feel like home. Tonight, it felt like a holding cell, every decorative pillow and artfully framed print echoing one silent truth: you're alone. To distract myself, I opened my laptop. I told myself it was to review a proposal, but really, I just didn't want to think, didn't want to feel, but my fingers betrayed me. They typed in Facebook, and what I saw next made me forget to breathe. There he was, my brother, Gavin, holding a champagne glass like the golden boy he's always been. Behind him, a banner that read, "Congrats on the promotion." My father had one arm slung around Gavin's shoulder. My mother stood on the other side, her smile wide and gleaming. The photo had been posted 4 hours ago. On my birthday, I scrolled. Every picture felt like a paper cut. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years, all of them there, laughing, toasting, posing, celebrating Gavin, and that's when it hit me. They didn't forget my birthday. They remembered, and they chose something else instead. Why does your family's love feel conditional? Like it only shows up when you've earned it, and only if your name isn't Lexi. The memories came fast, like a wave that had been building for years. 11 years old, sitting alone at a restaurant, one candle flickering while I waited for them to come back from Gavin's debate finals. They said they'd be back in time. They weren't. 17, shipped off to grandma's so they could tour Yale with Gavin. "It's his future, Lex," my dad had said without looking at me. And suddenly, I realized this wasn't new. It was a pattern. That night, sitting in silence next to a forgotten birthday cake, I asked myself something I'd buried for years. What would it look like to choose myself if no one else ever did? My college graduation was supposed to be my moment, but just before dessert, Gavin stood up and announced his engagement. Suddenly, the focus shifted from my summa cum laude speech to wedding venues and guest lists. I smiled because that's what I was trained to do. Make space, step back, let him shine. Just last month, I'd led the Horizon campaign that boosted client revenue by 41%. My father's response? A casual glance at his watch. "It's just advertising, Lexi," he said, like I'd handed out coupons instead of rebranding a Fortune 500 company. Not like Gavin's work in finance. That's real impact. I stared down at my phone, scrolling through my contacts. A blur of family names. People who've never once called to ask how I was doing, let alone congratulate me. An email notification popped up. I opened it mechanically, already numb, then blinked. Performance bonus, $82,000. It should have felt like victory. Instead, my phone rang. My mother's name lit up the screen, and for one foolish second, something fluttered in my chest. "Hello?" I answered, hating the hope in my voice. "Lexi, darling." Her voice was bright, bubbly, like she just remembered I existed. I'm so glad I caught you. We're planning a little something for Gavin and Jessica's anniversary next month, and I was hoping you could help out. Nothing major, just handle the catering and maybe the decorations. You're so good at that sort of thing. The clock struck midnight. My birthday was officially over. Mom, I said, my voice shaking, today was my birthday. A pause, then, oh. She sounded genuinely surprised. Oh, honey. With Gavin's big promotion, it just slipped our mind. Slipped their mind, like always. I stared at the email still glowing on my laptop screen. $82,000. More money than I've ever had in one place. Something deep inside me cracked, shifted, like tectonic plates grinding into a new shape. My voice came out calm, almost unfamiliar. Don't worry about it, Mom. I understand what matters to this family, and for the first time in my life, I actually did. 4 days later, I was at work when something landed in my inbox, a message from my mother. But it wasn't meant for me. She'd accidentally included me in the family group chat, a group I didn't even know existed. The threads were sprawling, messy, like a digital crime scene. Lexi should contribute significantly to Gavin's anniversary gift, my father had written, at least $20,000. Then my mother chimed in. She just got that bonus. Time she supports the family for once. Supports the family for once. And there it was. My name, misspelled in the thread. 2X instead of 1. Not even worth spelling right. I leaned back in my office chair, the leather groaning beneath me, the Chicago skyline stretching out like a silent witness to the humiliation. Behind the glass walls of Horizon PR, I was preparing for a high-stakes client meeting. Instead, I was discovering just how disposable I was to the people who shared my last name. My phone buzzed again. Jennifer popped her head into my office, curls bouncing. Your brother's on the Zoom too, she said. Then she paused, reading the look on my face. Everything okay? I turned my laptop toward her. Gavin used our Region Tech contacts again, pulled their marketing director into a meeting for his investment firm, didn't ask, didn't even tell me. Jennifer frowned, scanning the emails. This is the third time he's done that. She shook her head. And your dad wants you to fork over $20,000? That's disgusting. I nodded slowly, the weight of it all pressing down hard. What do you owe to people who never once showed up for you, except when your success was convenient? This is the third time he's done this, and your dad thinks you should give him $20,000 for an anniversary party? Jennifer lets out a low whistle and shakes her head. That's messed up, Lexi. I give a tired shrug. Apparently, it's time I support the family for once. The words taste bitter, like acid rising in the back of my throat. Jennifer raises an eyebrow as she perches on the edge of my desk. What exactly have they done for you lately? That bluntness is why we've been friends since orientation 5 years ago. She never lets me rewrite the truth just to make it easier to swallow. Her question lingers in the air as my office phone blinks steadily. Gavin, probably looking for another contact, another shortcut, another favor disguised as family helping family. You earned that bonus, Jennifer continues, her voice firm. Lawrence wouldn't have approved it if it wasn't deserved. As if summoned, Lawrence Chen himself appears in my doorway, all calm authority in a charcoal suit that somehow still looks perfect at 7 p.m. Lexi, the Westfield campaign numbers just came in, he says, sliding a folder across my desk. 41% increase in quarterly revenue. The board's ecstatic. His smile is warm, real. This is why I fought for your bonus. You've earned every penny. After he leaves, Jennifer gives my shoulder a squeeze. See? At least someone around here actually appreciates you. I nod and finally pick up Gavin's call, forcing my voice into something cool and professional, even as resentment pulses just under the surface. He wants Regan Tech's chief marketing officer at a dinner tomorrow night. Big potential client. Important opportunity. Family helping family, he says. We'll see what I can do, I reply. Non-committal, not a no, not a yes. That evening, I head to Mrs. Bennett's apartment on the 3rd floor, our Tuesday ritual. She opens the door with a warm smile, the scent of oatmeal cookies wrapping around me like a blanket. Right on time, she says, ushering me inside. She's 84, but moves like she's got unfinished business with the world. We sit at her kitchen table, the checkered cloth soft beneath my fingers. For 3 years now, this has been our ritual. I bring takeout, she brings dessert, and together we make something that actually feels like family. The kind you choose, not the one that keeps score. You look troubled, she says, pushing the cookie plate closer. So I tell her about the emails, about Gavin using my contacts without asking, about the 20 grand they expect me to hand over like a tribute, and about the final insult. My name misspelled in the family group chat. Lexi 2X. Not even enough letters to get me right. Her hand covers mine, soft but steady. Some parents never see their children clearly, she says, too busy looking at their own reflection. Her words stay with me as I head home and change into something formal, trying to armor myself for the family dinner I've been dreading all week. My apartment, normally my quiet escape, feels like a fortress now, safe, still mine. But that safety ends Saturday evening. The Edwards family mansion looms over Lakeshore Drive, a monument to 3 generations of wealth and spotless appearances. Inside, my mother, Claudia, is fussing with a centerpiece like her life depends on getting the floral symmetry just right. My father, Richard, is already sipping scotch like it's a personality trait. Gavin and his wife Jessica pose perfectly on the leather couch, all gleam and designer tailoring like an ad for generational success. Dinner unfolds with the usual choreography. My father steers the conversation like a CEO running a boardroom, bragging about Gavin's new title while my mother adds little anecdotes like garnishes. I just listen, pushing salmon around my plate, waiting for the inevitable. My mother cuts in with the perfect anecdote about Gavin's leadership at work, and I just keep pushing salmon around my plate, waiting for the inevitable. It comes with dessert. Lexi, my father says, setting his coffee cup down with the kind of deliberate authority that makes people listen. We need to discuss your contribution to Gavin and Jessica's anniversary celebration. The room tightens like someone pulled the air out of it. All eyes turn to me. 20,000 would cover the venue and catering, he continues smoothly, and as the only family member with a recent windfall, it seems appropriate. My mother nods beside him, her pearl earrings catching the light. Family supports family, darling. Those words hit like a slap. Family supports family. When, exactly, had they supported me? I can't, I say quietly. My father frowns, as if he's misheard. I beg your pardon? I can't contribute $20,000. My voice is steadier now. That's a quarter of my bonus. I have other plans for it. Silence drops over the table like a curtain. No one in this room is used to hearing me say no. What other plans could possibly take precedence over your brother's celebration? My father asks, his voice dipping into that warning tone I know too well. My future, I answer, simple and firm. My mother's face folds. After all we've done for you, she whispers, her eyes watering on cue. The performance is flawless, practiced guilt, perfectly timed. What exactly have you done for me? I ask before I can stop myself. My father stands abruptly, looming over the table. I will not tolerate ingratitude in this house. Your brother is the real achiever in this family. The least you can do is support his success. Every word lands with purpose, hitting the same bruise he's pressed my whole life. I rise, my legs slightly unsteady. I need to go, I say, reaching for my purse. Lexi, please, my mother says, grabbing for my arm. Don't make a scene. But for once, I don't retreat. I don't apologize. I don't try to patch it up or play the peacemaker. I walk out the front door, guilt trailing behind me like a shadow. But there's something else, too. resolution. For the first time in 32 years, I've refused to fade into the background of my brother's life. It feels terrifying, and it feels right. In my car, hands still trembling on the steering wheel, I make myself a promise. This is just the beginning. A week later, my mother starts calling every morning at exactly 7:15, like clockwork. I've taken to leaving my phone in the bathroom while I make coffee, just so I don't hear it buzz. "Lexi, sweetie," she says on speaker while I apply mascara, "this rebellious phase needs to end. Your father hasn't slept properly since that dinner." I pause in front of the mirror, noting the familiar tightness around my mouth. "Mom, I'm not rebellious," I reply, my tone even. "I'm 32. The mascara wand paused midair, my voice flat, matter of fact. "Then why are you breaking our hearts?" she asked, "after everything we've sacrificed for you." That word, sacrificed, made something tighten in my chest. I lowered the wand and stared into the mirror. "What exactly have you sacrificed for me?" She gasped, actually gasped, like the question was unthinkable. "How can you ask that? We gave you everything." "I have a meeting," I said, already pulling away from the conversation. "I need to go." I hung up before she could respond. By the afternoon, my father stormed through the glass doors of Horizon Brands like he owned the building. The suit, the posture, the sharpness in his eyes. He had the kind of presence that turned heads instantly. Jennifer caught my eye across the conference room and mouthed code red before vanishing behind the break room door. I intercepted him near reception. "Dad, this is my workplace." "Then maybe you should act like a professional," he shot back, voice raised just enough for half the office to hear. Professionals honor their family obligations. "Lower your voice," I said sharply, already steering him toward an empty meeting room, aware of every glance, every curious ear. Once the door clicked shut behind us, I turned to face him. "What do you want?" He didn't even hesitate. "Your mother hasn't stopped crying." "Is that what you wanted? To punish us because we missed one birthday?" That word again, one. The dismissal in it was volcanic. "One?" I said. "Try 20 birthdays, graduations, achievements. You missed all of it." "You always exaggerate," he muttered, checking his watch like my life was wasting his time. "The point is, Gavin deserves our support. $20,000 from your bonus is more than fair." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a priority alert. Our biggest client. A crisis. Perfect timing. "I have to handle this," I said, stepping past him. "We'll talk later." "This conversation isn't finished, Lexi." "Actually," I said, pausing at the door, "it is." I shut it behind me, hands trembling but voice steady as I dialed the client. 3 hours later, I stood at the head of the executive table, laying out the crisis strategy that saved the Westridge account. My voice didn't waver once. "That was extraordinary work," our CEO said afterward, laying a hand on my shoulder. "You just saved a $3 million account with that quick thinking. The client called me personally to sing your praises." Pride bloomed in my chest, warm, unfamiliar, and welcome. "Thank you," I told him. "I appreciate that." On the walk back to my office, my phone buzzed again. 6 missed calls from Gavin, 1 text. "Mom's crying every night because of you. Fix this. Fix." I silenced the phone and turned instead to the growing pile of congratulatory emails from colleagues and clients. The contrast hit hard. At work, I was valued. At home, I was only seen when I had something to give. 3 weeks after my birthday, I sat alone in a quiet cafe, laptop open in front of me, a half-eaten slice of carrot cake on the plate beside me. Across the room, a young woman wearing a paper crown was surrounded by friends. They laughed, passed around glittery gift bags, and cheered as she blew out her candles. "Make a wish, Amanda," someone called out. I watched it all unfold. The easy affection, the casual joy, the simple celebration of her existence. And I knew I would never have this with my family. Not because I hadn't earned it, but because no amount of success would ever make them see me. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Almost without thinking, I typed lakefront property, Michigan. Dozens of listings appeared. I clicked on one. A 4-bedroom home with wide windows overlooking the water. A wooden deck wrapped around 3 sides. Mature pine trees lined the property. Quiet, secluded. The price tag, $365,000. I studied the photos, something unfamiliar expanding in my chest with each new angle. This could be mine, my sanctuary, my boundary line, my choice. The next morning, I called the realtor and scheduled a private viewing. 2 days later, I stood on that wooden deck, watching sunlight ripple across the lake's surface like it was trying to tell me something. The owners are motivated sellers, the realtor explained beside me. They've already moved to Arizona. I'll take it, I heard myself say, surprising even me. I can make a substantial down payment. Her eyebrows lifted. Don't you want to think about it? Maybe bring your family to see it first? No. The word came out clean and certain. This is for me. Days later, the mortgage approval came through. Fast, thanks to my excellent credit. I signed the papers in a quiet office downtown, each signature feeling less like paperwork and more like a declaration of independence. Mrs. Bennett came with me to the closing. She held my hand as I received the keys, her smile proud and steady. "You're doing the right thing, dear," she said, patting my knuckles. "Sometimes we have to build our own sanctuary." And for the first time in weeks, my hands didn't shake. I spent weekends at the lake house, transforming it room by room. The walls began to fill with framed reminders of what I'd accomplished. My college graduation, the team celebration after the Westridge account, the glossy magazine cover that featured my PR campaign. The master bedroom quickly became my favorite. I hung a little wooden sign on the door that read, "The Birthday Suite." Inside, I placed a reading chair by the window that overlooked the water, stacked books I'd always meant to read on the nightstand, and splurged on the softest bedding I could find. On a bright Sunday, I typed out housewarming invitations. Jennifer, my colleagues, Mrs. Bennett. My finger hovered over the contact group labeled Family Years of Conditioning, whispered that I should include them, but I didn't. Instead, I pressed send, only to those who had celebrated my wins, who saw me clearly, who never asked me to shrink to make space for someone else. It felt like a small action, but it wasn't. It was the first stone in the foundation of something new. Boundaries. That night, I sat on the deck, phone deliberately left inside, watching stars reflect on the dark water. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt powerful. Not just accomplished, but truly powerful in that quiet, grounded way that comes from choosing yourself when no one else will. I knew the calls would keep coming, the guilt trips, the drama, but here, in this space I'd created for myself, their voices began to fade. On Sunday, I hovered over the post button, took 3 deep breaths. Then I pressed it. The photo wasn't dramatic, just me on the new cedar deck, barefoot, holding a glass of Pinot Noir, Lake Michigan stretching out blue and endless behind me. But the caption was what mattered. Weekend at my new lake house. Birthday gift to myself. I set my phone down on the weathered railing and lifted my face to the sunset. The September air had just the faintest bite of fall, crisp against my skin. For 20 minutes, I simply breathed, watched the light flicker across the water, listened to chickadees calling from the pine trees. When I finally checked my phone, the screen stopped me cold. 17 missed calls, 32 texts, 8 from my mother in the last 15 minutes alone. I silenced the ringer and slipped the phone into my jeans pocket. Not today. Instead, I settled into the Adirondack chair I'd assembled myself the day before and watched the sun melt into the horizon, painting the lake in shades of amber and rose. The house was big, 4 bedrooms, an open kitchen, a stone fireplace, but every single inch of it belonged to me. And for once, every decision, from the sage green exterior paint to the vintage brass doorknobs, was one I made without asking anyone's permission. Every inch of this house was mine, built on choices I made without asking anyone's approval. My phone buzzed again, insistent as a wasp. I almost ignored it until I saw the preview. Jennifer's comment on my photo. You deserve this and more. Can't wait to see it in person. For the first time all day, I smiled. Monday morning brought a storm of voicemails from my mother, each one more frantic than the last. Lexi, call me back immediately. Where did you get the money for a house? Your father wants to know. This is completely irresponsible behavior. People are asking questions we can't answer. How do you think this makes us look? Then, the kicker. Your brother is driving to your office right now. You better be there. The final message landed at 10 a.m. sharp. There's a family emergency meeting tomorrow night. Don't make this worse than it already is. I deleted them all. Then I made blueberry pancakes in my new kitchen. By the afternoon, I'd hung curtains in the master bedroom and assembled the patio furniture, humming to myself when my work phone rang. Jennifer's voice came through without preamble. Your brother showed up at the office looking for you. He seemed pretty shaken when I told him you'd taken the week off. Asked if I knew where you were. My chest tightened. What did you tell him? That your whereabouts weren't my information to share. She paused. Then he gave me that Edwards family look, like I was the crazy one for respecting your privacy. I laughed, surprising myself with the sound. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, she said. He cornered Devin from accounting. Devin mentioned something about Michigan, so heads up, they might figure it out. I walked to the deck doors, gazing out at the lake where autumn leaves drifted across fresh-cut grass. Let them, I murmured. Saturday arrived with my improvised housewarming. Colleagues from the agency turned up with practical gifts and genuine smiles. My boss, Greg, handed me an expensive bottle of Cabernet with a handwritten note. To celebrating yourself. We toasted on the deck while boats drifted lazily across the water. Mrs. Bennett arrived last, her silver hair swept into an elegant bun. She carried a quilt made of patchwork fabric in shades of blue and green. For your bedroom, she said, eyes warm with pride. Every home needs something handmade with love. My throat tightened, unexpected tears burning at the corners of my eyes as she wrapped her arms around me. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. We grilled steaks and corn out on the deck. Someone brought a portable speaker and music floated into the evening air, mingling with the hum of conversation and bursts of laughter. I took photos of everything. Friends sprawled on new furniture, the sunset glowing in the windows, Mrs. Bennett teaching Jennifer how to fold napkins properly. Later, I posted those images too. Each one was proof of something I'd always needed. People who showed up. The absence of my family was obvious, but this was real. Sunday evening, a text came in from my father. Where did you get the house money? Answer immediately. I poured myself another glass of wine and didn't respond. By Monday morning, the gossip network was in full swing. My cousin Elaine called with her voice dipped in hushed, syrupy concern. Everyone's talking about your lake house, she said, as though she were delivering tragic news. She says Aunt Claudia is beside herself. Uncle Richard wanted to call a family meeting, but you weren't there. I was busy hanging shelves, I reply, surprised by how calm I sound. Lexi. My cousin's voice softens into that performative concern she's mastered. Then, with a dramatic pause, people are saying things. I raise an eyebrow. What things? That you've been hiding money. That you're having some kind of breakdown. That this is all because you're jealous of Gavin's success. I laugh, a real laugh. It bubbles up from somewhere unfamiliar, somewhere freer. That sounds exactly like something my family would say. The call that finally comes on Thursday night is from my mother. I answer on the fourth ring, easing into the porch swing as the sun fades over the lake. Lexi Hartwell, she begins, voice tight with that dangerous, controlled fury I know too well. This has gone far enough. The Petersons, the Carsons, even Reverend Wallace has asked about your situation. My situation? This attention-seeking behavior, buying a house without consulting the family, posting those photos, people are asking questions. I rock gently, eyes on a heron gliding across the water. What questions? Her voice drops to a whisper. Why you would need to buy yourself a birthday present. Why we weren't there to help you celebrate. It's creating a very uncomfortable situation for this family. How interesting, I say lightly. It's almost like actions have consequences. She exhales sharply, then hardens her tone. We need to fix this. I'm organizing a family dinner Sunday night. Your father and I will explain this was all a misunderstanding, that we've always supported you. The old version of me, the one who smoothed things over, who needed their approval, would have said yes in a heartbeat, but that Lexi doesn't live here anymore. I'm available Tuesday next week, I say instead. 7 o'clock, and I'll bring the photo albums. There's a pause. What photo albums? I smile into the phone. The ones I've been keeping since I was 11 years old. Documenting everything. Documenting. For once, my mother is silent. Tuesday arrives. The granite steps of my parents' mansion stretch before me like the steps of a courthouse. I clutch the photo albums tight against my chest, knuckles whitening as I climb. The evening sun casts long shadows across the manicured lawn, shadows that feel like hands trying to pull me back into old patterns. But tonight, I ring the doorbell instead of using my key. Because tonight, I'm not the daughter trying to be seen. I'm the prosecutor with evidence. The heavy oak door creaks open. My father stands there, 6'2", perfectly groomed, framed in polished wealth. His eyes flick to the albums in my arms, then back to my face. You're late, he says, and turns without waiting for a response. No hug, no smile, just criticism, exactly as expected. I step into the foyer, where my mother waits with tissues already clutched in her hand. The performance has begun. Her eyes are red-rimmed, the makeup just smudged enough to suggest tears, applied carefully to look tragic without actually ruining the effect. Lexi, her voice breaks dramatically. We've been so worried. I don't respond. The script is too familiar. Her trembling voice, my guilt, my eventual surrender, but not tonight. Gavin appears from the living room, a drink in his hand. He pauses when he sees me, the casual confidence slipping from his face, replaced by something unsure. I straighten, meet his eyes, and don't look away until he does. Dinner's getting cold, Mom says, turning toward the dining room. The table is set with the good china, candles flickering in sterling silver holders, a peace offering, or a bribe. I place the photo albums on the sideboard and take my usual seat, opposite Gavin, diagonal from the head of the table where Dad presides like always. Your mother made your favorite, Dad says as he serves himself first, beef Wellington. It hasn't been my favorite since high school. Gavin prefers it. Let's just cut to the chase, I say, not touching my plate. I know why you called this dinner. Mom sets down her fork with a sigh that lands like a cymbal crash. Lexi, sweetheart, we're just concerned about your impulsive decisions. Buying that lake house without consulting us? Dad doesn't wait for her to finish. It reflects poorly on the family image. Reckless spending, poor financial planning. It was my bonus money, I reply quietly. Money that could have been invested properly, he continues, ignoring me as if I hadn't said anything at all, as if my voice was still optional. Gavin clears his throat. Lexi, no one's saying you can't have nice things, but maybe selling the house would help keep peace in the family. Mom's been crying every night. Mom dabs at eyes that remain suspiciously dry. You're breaking your mother's heart, she whispers. I push back my chair and walk to the sideboard. The album in my hands feels heavier than it should. I return to the table and place it at the center. I brought something I thought you should see. Dad's mouth tightens. We don't have time for scrapbooks. Make time. My voice is flat, final. I open the first album. Gavin in party hats, Gavin blowing out candles, Gavin surrounded by towers of presents, every birthday documented in glossy professional photos, age 6 through 25. Turn to page 16, I say, looking at Gavin. He hesitates, then flips the page. It's his 18th birthday. A shiny car with a giant bow, Dad handing him the keys, Mom crying, real tears of joy. I slide the second album forward. This one's mine. Mom reaches for it first. Her fingers tremble slightly as she lifts the cover. Empty pages stare back at her. A few scattered photos rest inside. Me alone with store-bought cupcakes, one of Mrs. Bennet hugging me on my 30th, nothing else. There was nothing to put in it, I explain, my voice even. On my 21st birthday, you were at Gavin's engagement party. Remember? Gavin flinches. I open the third album without waiting for a response. Family vacations, Disney World, the Grand Canyon, European tours. I pause. I'm not in these because I wasn't there. I was left with Grandma, or sent to summer camp, or told there wasn't enough money for everyone to go. Dad stands abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. What's the point of this melodrama, Lexi? You've always been the difficult one. The point, I say, lifting a printed and highlighted spreadsheet from my bag, is evidence. I lay it flat on the table. This tracks family spending, Gavin versus me, college tuition, birthday gifts, car down payments, family trips. The numbers speak for themselves. Thousands poured into Gavin. Hundreds, if that, for me. And this, I continue, pulling a folded diary page from my wallet, is from when I was 9. I read aloud, maybe next year they'll remember my birthday without Grandma calling to remind them. Finally, I slide a photograph across the table. Christmas dinner, 3 years ago. I was in Chicago, working. You knew I couldn't come, but you set a place anyway. Took a photo, sent it to me with a note that said, "We missed you." I point at the picture. You wanted me to feel guilty, but I was the only one who noticed something. Mom leans in, squinting at the photo. That's not my usual chair, I say quietly. That's where guests sit. The silence stretches tight, sharp as piano wire. Even when you pretend I belong, I add, I'm still an outsider. Dad's face darkens to crimson. What do you want from us, Lexi? An apology? Fine. We favored Gavin. He was always the priority. He's carrying on the Hartwell name, the Hartwell legacy. Mom crumples beside him, this time with real tears. We didn't mean to. It just happened. And then it became a pattern, and her voice cracks. And you were easier to ignore. I finish for her. The words slip out like instinct. Gavin still hasn't said a word. He's staring at a photo I'd placed intentionally at the edge of the table. Him at 8, surrounded by gifts, and me at 6 in the background, smiling that tight, trained smile that never quite made it to my eyes. I rise, gathering my things, everything except the albums. Those I leave behind. I don't need your approval anymore, I say, voice steady. I don't need your love, your attention, or your validation. I waited 32 years for you to see me. I'm done waiting. I turn toward the door, shoulders straight, my steps slow but certain. Behind me, I hear Gavin call my name. Mom sobs. Dad says nothing. I pause at the threshold, still not looking back. The albums are yours to keep, I say. Consider them a gift. Then I close the door behind me with a quiet click that echoes like thunder. A year later, on my birthday, the morning sun spills golden light across the deck of my lake house. I arrange a tray of fresh fruit beside a champagne bucket. 33 candles wait on the cake. Jennifer insisted on bringing one for each year, plus one for luck. Need any help? Mark from marketing calls from the sliding door, balancing a platter of pastries. Just set those anywhere, I reply, smoothing my red sundress and checking my watch. Everyone should be here within the hour. A year makes quite the difference. Last birthday, I sat alone in my apartment with a store-bought cake. Today, my deck bustles with colleagues and new friends, all here to celebrate me. My phone buzzes with congratulatory texts about my promotion to senior director. The timing feels poetic. Announced yesterday, celebrated today. The lake sparkles beyond the railing, mirroring a sky that perfectly matches my mood. Dr. Levine, my therapist, would call this progress. Our weekly sessions have helped me untangle the family dynamics that shaped me. Generational patterns, she calls them. Breaking those patterns takes courage, and courage, it turns out, looks like spending Thanksgiving at a resort in Vermont instead of at my parents' house, like muting group texts when they get manipulative, like building your own traditions from the ground up. Lexi, Jennifer raises her mimosa glass, to the birthday girl who taught us all how to choose ourselves. Glasses clink. Laughter ripples across the deck. I absorb the warmth of genuine connection, so different from the hollow performance of family gatherings. Then a car door slams out front. I know that engine sound, my brother's BMW. Gavin stands awkwardly at the edge of the deck, holding a wrapped package. The party conversation softens as he approaches. "Sorry to crash," he says. I wanted to give you this in person. We haven't spoken since the photo album confrontation, since he watched the perfect family narrative shatter under the weight of proof. Join us, I say, and surprise myself with how much I mean it. Later, when the party drifts indoors, Gavin and I sit at the end of the dock, the package resting between us, still unopened. Therapy's been eye-opening, he admits, watching a sailboat carve its way across the lake. Dad still won't go, but Mom's trying. She talks about you differently now. And you? I ask. I never saw it until you showed us. How they erased you while spotlighting me. He nudges the package toward me. Open it. Inside is a framed photo I've never seen before. Me at 7, perched on the old tire swing in our backyard, laughing at something just out of frame. Just me. Found it in Dad's storage boxes, Gavin says. Had it restored. Proof you existed, even when nobody was looking. My throat tightens. It's not a solution, but it's something. A beginning. A knock at the lake house door pulls me back toward the party. Through the glass, I see my mother standing alone on the porch, clutching a small bakery box. She insisted on coming, Gavin says. I didn't tell her where until today. Mom's hands tremble slightly as she holds out the box. Inside is a cupcake with a single candle. Happy birthday, Lexi, she whispers. Her rehearsed smile crumbles into something more real. I brought carrot cake. You always liked that, didn't you? I did, she remembered. The party's winding down, I say, stepping aside. You can stay for cake if you'd like. Her relief is visible, shoulders unclenching, a breath released. Small steps. After everyone leaves, I return to the dock as twilight settles gently over the lake. Because here's the truth. Not all families are cruel, but some are careless. And sometimes the most radical thing you can do is stop waiting to be chosen and choose yourself instead. I used to think being invisible in your own story was just something you had to endure. Now I know it's something you can rewrite. You can pack the evidence, you can walk out, you can buy the house, bake the cake, and build the life they never thought you deserved. You don't need to earn a seat at a table where you're only ever served guilt. You can build your own table with mismatched chairs, messy laughter, real connection, and no empty place settings pretending you belong. So here's to the ones who finally stop asking for permission to exist. What gift have you given yourself that changed everything? Let me know in the comments. Share your story. And if this hit you somewhere deep, subscribe, like, and pass it on to someone who needs to hear it. Because healing might begin quietly, but once it starts, it's unstoppable.